Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wicked Truths and F-Bombs. I'm Danielle. I'm going to look at the chat really quick and see who's here. I have Angie with me. Angie is a family member of Curtis Francis, and we are going to dig into the Hopper Road cold case today. I don't know how many of you are aware of this case. I've shared a bunch of links up above that you can scroll back to. There's some articles, there's a YouTube investigation. There's actually I'll share that link as well. There's a whole long investigation on this case on YouTube done by Jody Barr, who is a former reporter in the Pike County, Ohio area. He is no longer in that area. He actually is a reporter for one of the stations that covers the Heidi Broussard case. So anyways, welcome, Angie. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody.
Let's see who's in the chat really quick and say hi to everyone.
Hello. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
It looks like our bomb squad's down there. Hey, Doodle. Hey, Amanda. Madame Deficit. Hey, Maui Girl. Yvette. Oh, hey, Glowing Ember. Who's there? If you're here, let us know. Hey, Tracy L. Hey, SM. I can't tell if you're here unless you comment. So let us know you're here so we can say hi. We like to say hi to everybody. But we're going to probably just get down to it. I'm going to play some slides. Angie, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let you tell the story. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. Okay. So we are just shy of 14 years.
Yes.
14 years ago on December 9th, 2006, Curtis and Jennifer were shot dead in their bed sleeping. And Jennifer's mother actually discovered Kurt and Jenny inside their home and called 911. There's a lot to this case. There's a lot of suspects, suspicious people who aren't charged, different murders that are not linked specifically to this case, but linked to the players of this case. And Angie, I'll just let you start wherever you feel comfortable starting.
Okay, first of all, I want to say thanks for doing this. We get turned down a lot by people.
Aww.
So having somebody do this is a big deal.
Well, you're very welcome. I adore you, and I've always, since I met you quite a few years ago, I've always followed your cousin's case and have hoped and prayed for justice, and we will always help you fight for justice. So
thank you. We appreciate it very much.
You're welcome.
I guess just to start out, I just want to make it clear that there have been no arrests in this case at all. They haven't even really came out publicly and named suspects at all. I think they just went around and talked to a few people, and that was it. There wasn't really a lot of media coverage about it. I think the local paper did a story on it a couple days after it happened, and that was it until 2012 when the governor now, Mike DeWine, he was attorney general, he went on a Columbus station and he had started like a cold case unit, and a deputy from Pike County went up there and met with him, and they talked about the case then. But a lot of people that I talk to around here don't know about it at all. And
yeah,
that's
I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Actually, one of our WTAF team members used to be local to the area, not anymore, but was local to the area, and that person wasn't even aware of this case. So it is a case that has not had a lot of coverage, sadly, because it should. It should. It did make Dateline's, cold case spotlight, which is great. And I know that you have worked so hard. I see your work. You tirelessly work and post and just constantly put their information out there. You're truly fighting for justice for them.
Yes, I am. We had Dateline when I got a hold of them. I had wrote them probably a year before they contacted me. And
Wow.
she was, we were all pumped. They were going to do like a 2-hour special on TV about them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, this is it. This is what we've been praying for. And she said that they had to get, they had to talk to law enforcement, get their side of it, all that stuff. Well, they wouldn't call them back. And she
Wow.
told me that her producer was like, we have to have law enforcement's involvement. And they wouldn't answer her.
So basically, Pike County won't cooperate.
Right. They won't even do like a press release. They won't. I've asked them to help me with Crime Stoppers to get
Mm-hmm.
like a bulletin board put up or a reward. I get
Mm-hmm.
I get screwed around about that. Call this person, call that person. I I asked them to call and ask the BCI to come back. The BCI's been on this case, called in twice, I do believe, and been relieved twice. I asked them to just make a simple phone call. Can you call and ask them to come back and assist on the case?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have one person tell me, well, this person has to do it. So I'll go to that person and they say, well, that person. And it's just back and forth. It's like
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants and nobody cares. And that's how the family feels, that it's just swept under the rug and nobody gives a crap about it. And that's a horrible feeling. That's two people that lost their lives and two families that have been affected for 14 years by this. And
Absolutely. It's unbelievable. I can't imagine.
it's been, I mean, if we're just going to, I'm just going to say what I feel. The case has been grossly mishandled. I don't think it
Mm-hmm.
was investigated properly at all. Um, I think people are hiding things. The majority of what I think is going on is people made a lot of big mistakes
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want anyone to acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want people to know that they screwed up. It was a double homicide, and I was told by an ex-deputy that they cleared the scene in under 6 hours.
It's
And
unreal.
I don't know how you could process. And I mean, I'm not a policeman. I don't know if maybe you can do that. But in my mind, I'm thinking I would want to spend more time than under 6 hours at a
Mm-hmm.
crime scene. And then
Yeah.
we got the guns in the well. They
Yeah.
found
We're,
guns and-
there's so much. There's so much information to this case. So why don't we start with the night before on December 8th?
Okay.
What was going on, where Kurt was at, and then what happened.
Okay. We've been told that Kurt had went down to James house, which is probably about 7 minutes down the road. Kurt and Jenny lived on Hopper, and the Howes lived on Wynn Road, which is about 7-8 minutes away. Kurt would take his four-wheeler and just hop on his four-wheeler and go from his house to their house, through the woods. I guess he was there about. I've had people tell me, I've talked to hundreds of people. I've had people tell me that he was there about 8 or 8:30. He had been drinking that day. Curtis liked his beer, and him and Jenny had gotten to kind of like an argument, and Jenny had said, I'm not staying at the house. I'm going to my mom's. Everybody at James's house heard her say that, like she was pissed at Curtis, so she wasn't going to be home. He left. I had an eyewitness tell me that he left on his four-wheeler came back later on and talked to Kevin Prater. And Eric Horn was there at the time. That's a key player. You guys need to remember his name. And Curtis left. That was probably, I think they said 10 maybe. And his mother, Judy, she did tell me that she had talked to him about 11 that night. Told him, to settle down for the evening and time to go to bed, Curtis. And I had a girl that was friends with Jenny. She said she talked to Jenny about 11 or so. So they were alive at that time. And they were found the next day. I think it was between 1:30 and 2:30. And actually, Jenny's father found them, but the mother called 911. And I think a lot of people that were there at the house that night are scared to come forward. A few of them did. I've talked to a few that just don't want anything to do with any of it. They don't want to talk about it, Yeah, I was there, but I don't want to talk about it. And then, they were found the next day. There was no forced entry. I do know that. And they stole Curtis's medication, Jenny's purse, and a pistol that Curtis used to keep in his holster on his gun cabinet. But there was nothing like out of the way, like a robbery type thing. And whoever did this, they weren't expecting Jenny to be there. So it had to be someone that was at that house that thought she wasn't going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
There's been, we have I think you're going to show the eyewitness statements. There was eyewitness statements from Eden Canterbury and Corey Howes that said that night that two individuals, James Howes, which is Corey's brother, actually, and Eric Horn left and went to Kurt's because their mother, I guess supposedly Curtis owed them some money. And Robin told them to go get it and to kill Curtis. Didn't know Jenny was there. That's like eyewitness police report. This man wrote this about his brother and his mother. So that right there, I'm thinking that takes a lot, to say something against your brother and your mother like that.
Yeah. We actually have Eric Horn's. I'm sorry, you're talking about House's letter.
Yeah,
I have that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I have House's letter up here, but I do have Eric Horn's letter. And I do have, let's see. Don't mind the screen. Oh, so yeah, we do have Corey House's written statement. I can read it if you want, actually.
I think that statement was when they were, see, that's what gets kind of confusing because before Kurt and Jenny got killed, Paul Shope had gotten murdered in February of 2006, which Eric Horn was the main suspect of that murder. And I think that the statements that we see from Corey and Eden, that's when the sheriff's department was talking to them about the Shope murder. And they voluntarily gave up this information about Kurt and Jenny after they got killed. They went and talked to him about the Shope case, and they were like, oh, yeah, by the way, this happened. But I've been told by a very prominent person in town that Corey and Eden's statements wouldn't hold up in court because of their background. Because
that's crazy. That's crazy because they put people in prison on the witness stand all the time. So
yes, ma'am, jailhouse snitches. And when I was told that, I thought, well, I kept quiet. I put it in the bank, in my head, and I was like, okay, that's not right because everybody knows there's jailhouse snitches that are credible that go to court and testify. So they're telling me that, no matter what they say on that statement, it's not going to stand up in court because, they're addicts and they're criminals and they're liars. And I was thinking that doesn't make sense to me. That's,
Right.
and especially a family member, like Mike Allen said in the Jody Barr video, a family member rolling on another family member.
Right.
That's big.
So who is the trigger man
Who
alleged
do
to be? Yeah. Who do you think it is?
I think it was Eric.
You think it was Eric? Okay.
I think it was.
Just a disclaimer for everybody in the chat. I have these everyone we're talking about labeled the suspects. That's my words. They have not officially been labeled suspects publicly, or I don't know. They may be like people of interest within the law enforcement department, but they've never publicly stated that. So
Right.
I've said they're suspects based on all of the information that we have. It's hard for me to say this because I support law enforcement so much, but if you follow anything with Pike County, there's a lot of corruption there. A lot.
Yes.
And it runs deep. It runs really deep there. And essentially, they've dropped the ball on this case. And we're going to show the interview with Jody Barr that he did and the investigation that he did. I'm going to read Corey House's letter, his statement right now that he gave.
Okay.
So Corey House is the son of Robin House. And some of these people who are afraid to speak, Angie, who are the ones who are afraid to speak? Is it Corey and James and Eden?
It's Eden. Eden, she gave this statement, and then I've been told by ex-deputies that after this statement, she would not cooperate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll read Corey's, and I don't have Eden's up here, but I will read it.
Okay.
So Corey House's statement he made to the Pike County Sheriff's Office. It was a voluntary statement that he made. He stated, Kurt was killed. Eric was at my house, which would have been Robin House's house. Approximately 2 to 3 weeks after Curtis Francis and Jennifer, is it Burgette or Burgette? Burgette were killed. I met Eric Horn on the streets near the library in Piketon. We discussed him killing Paul Shope, and he denied it. He then told me that he killed Kurt and Jenny by shooting them. We then went our separate ways, going back to the night Kurt was killed. Eric, James, Eden, Robin, and he put in parentheses, mom. Kevin and Kurt was at my mom's house. Eric and James took a rifle from the house and put it in Eric's truck. They then left shortly after. They then left shortly after Kurt did and returned with blood. I can't read that.
Yeah, it's hard to read.
Blood something. Blood here and there on their clothes. Robin, mom, made them shower, and Kevin, which is Robin's boyfriend, put the clothes in black trash bags and burnt them in the yard. We, Eden and I, then left and went to West Virginia. Let's see. Eric Horn told me around 10/18/2007. Nope, that's not it. Eric Horn told me around 10/18/2007, while incarcerated with him at Ross County Jail, that he killed Paul Shope over $300 to $400 in drug patches.
Yeah, I think they were like morphine patches.
Okay. Paul Shope bought drugs from my mom, Robin, and Kevin Prater. So Corey Howes, you have to remember, this is his mom he's talking about. He's throwing his mom and her boyfriend under the bus completely.
Yes.
Eric and I had our problems in the past, but knew we both had to be in here. I'm I can't read this. In the same whatever. Oh, in the same conversation as him telling me about killing Paul, we talked about Curtis Francis and Jennifer Burgette. What's this? And then he goes on to say, approximately a few days after Kurt and Jenny were killed, I was at my mom's house and James told me that Eric Horn and him killed Kurt and Jenny by shooting them and for me not to say anything about it. So Corey has tried to speak.
Yes.
He's given statements about what he knows, and he has essentially implicated Eric Horn and his mother's boyfriend,
Right.
Kevin, and allegedly Robin is the one who ordered the hit.
Yes.
So it gets a little go ahead.
That usually what I've noticed with people is when they tell lies, the truth's the truth, and you're going to tell it straight up the same way every time you tell the story, if it's now or 20 years from now. And when you tell lies, you botch it up. This guy has stuck to his story for 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
He has told the same thing. He's not messed up anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of sticks out to me. Like he's never changed his tune. It's always the same story.
Yeah. That's telling because it's hard to keep up with lies. People will usually slip up at some point because they can't keep track of what they've said.
Right.
So Corey has literally named the triggermen as
Eric.
Eric
Mm-hmm.
and Kevin.
Right.
And nothing's been done about this. These are voluntary statements that we're giving to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office has this information. I think what we'll do is we'll go into Jody Barr's video. Maybe this will help sum things up for everybody a little bit. Because there's a lot here, and I want to unpack it and make sure that we don't have anybody wondering. So you guys, I just need you to let me know in the chat if you can hear it. So please let me know if you can hear it. Is that okay with you, Angie, if I play his video?
Yes, it helps a lot. So yes.
Okay. All right. So we're going to play this.
"10 years ago, 2 people were murdered in their beds in Pike County. It's a case that still tonight is unsolved and the killer's on the loose. But we've uncovered evidence that some say shows this one could have been solved a long time ago. And just months ago, the discovery of a well at a Pike County home, a well that could hold the evidence. 10 years ago, 2 people were murdered in their beds in Pike County. It's a case that still tonight is unsolved and the killer's on the loose. But we've uncovered evidence that some say shows this one could have been solved a long time ago. And just months ago, the discovery of a well at a Pike County home, a well that could hold the evidence investigators have spent a decade looking for. The call came into dispatchers December 9th, 2006. A Pike County mother found her daughter and soon-to-be son-in-law shot to death. Kurt Francis and Jennifer Burgette were their names. But 10 years later, the case has gone cold.
This well was covered up that deep. It was probably dug for 2 to 3 days. Pretty well around the clock.
Last summer, Paul Francis was knocking out a plumbing job for a friend here on Wynn Road. It's the last place his brother was before he was murdered in 2006. Paul's waited ever since for investigators to solve this case. Never did he think he might be the one to break it wide open.
And it was buried underneath like 4 foot of rocks and dirt. And it was being hid. Nobody knew the well was there till we found him. So
it was an accident. You found it.
Yeah, complete Actually, well, somebody wanted the Lord. I mean, wanted us to find it. I reckon we found it.
The Francis family called the sheriff's office last July to report finding the well. The Pike County Sheriff's Office taped it off, then hired a plumber to run a camera down it. Investigators, Francis says, showed him the pictures of what they found down there.
I seen the pictures later of it. Me and my mom looked like I call it a saddle gun, a lever action, 18 shot, 30-06. That's what my brother was killed with, and his wife, his fiance, and a pistol. It's in that well right now. We're supposed to not say nothing about that, but I think something's time for it to be said.
Francis says investigators searched the water around this home in the years after the murders. The searches, Francis says investigators told him, were to find the murder weapons. After a few years, the Hopper Road case was shelved, listed as a cold case by the Ohio Attorney General's office. A few months ago, we uncovered 10-year-old witness statements in a separate Pike County murder case, statements that appear to tell the whole story about what happened here on Hopper Road in December 2006. These are the 6 people whose names show up in the statements we found. Robin Howes owned the house with the well. She shared that home with her boyfriend, Kevin Hoskins Prater, and her son, James Howes. Corey Howes is Robin's youngest son. Corey and his girlfriend at the time, Eden Canterbury, gave investigators statements in a separate murder case. Eden wrote, Robin Howes ordered the hit that killed Kurt Francis and Jenny Burgette. Corey and Eden's statements went on to say, his brother James Howes and a family friend, Eric Horn, took a rifle out of the home and came back later with bloody clothes. Now, those same statements show that Robin Howes ordered James Howes and Eric Horn into the shower, while Kevin Hoskins Prater burned their bloody clothes and buried them somewhere in their yard. We tried to track the people down who gave those statements. Corey Howes is in prison. So is his brother, James Howes. Neither agreed to interviews. We could not track Eden Canterbury down. And after several trips to Pike County, we found the new home Robin Howes and Kevin Hoskins Prater share in Piketon. Robin Howes' son, Corey Howes' girlfriend, told investigators in 2007 Robin Howes ordered the hit against Kurt Francis. Corey Howes told investigators Jenny Burgette wasn't supposed to be home. We wanted to ask Robin Howes about the allegations against her.
You doing, you Miss Howes?
No.
Are you Robin Pazzolt?
Nope.
All right. Looking for Kevin Hoskins, too, if he's here.
Nope.
We made several attempts to speak with Robin Howes and Kevin Hoskins Prater. Kevin Hoskins Prater returned a call, said he wanted the killers found, but never agreed to interview with us. This was the last contact we had with either one. Do the names James Howes, Robin Howes, Kevin Pazzolt, or Prater, those names mean anything to this case?
Again,
No
I'm
comment.
not at liberty to discuss any names in the case that we're looking at, actively looking at, or past looked at. It's not happening.
These are the 4 men working to solve Pike County's stack of unsolved murders. Investigator Brian Reeder told us the unit's giving the Hopper Road case another try.
I can tell you with new technology, with DNA collection, touch DNA, and et cetera, we're in the process of returning some of the physical evidence that was originally collected, sending it off to have retested as well.
Have you been able to develop any type of motive profile of the suspects that you may be looking for in this case?
No comment.
But what about last summer when Paul Francis uncovered that well at the former Howes home?
There was a rifle and a handgun found in this well with burned clothing. Has that gotten you anywhere at this point?
No comment.
Have you guys been able to pull this out of that well at this time?
No comment.
No comment.
We tracked down a man who claims to be a witness in the Hopper Road case. We found him at a state prison in Pickaway County.
The question has to be asked, did you have anything to do with this double homicide?
No.
Eric Horn is one of the people accused in the Hopper Road statements. Horn serving a life sentence in a separate murder case. He claims he was at the Howes Wynn Road home the night of the murders, but left before Kurt Francis left and was later murdered.
Did you ever see Kurt Francis again?
No, I did not.
In September 2008, nearly a year following the Hopper Road murders, Eric Horn was inside the Pike County Courthouse about to take a plea deal in a separate murder case. State prosecutors, Horn's case file shows, were negotiating a deal with Horn for information on the Hopper Road case. Horn says he wrote a statement then claiming Robin Howes ordered the hit against Kurt Francis and Kevin Hoskins Prater, and James Howes carried it out. Horn says James Howes admitted that to him a few months after the Hopper Road murders.
What did James tell you?
James was in the front yard chopping firewood, and he broke down and said, "Kevin done it. Kevin done it." And I said, "Kevin did what?" He said he broke down, started crying. It was Robin's doing. She's the one that basically made him do it.
Eric Horn says days after giving prosecutors the information on the Hopper Road murders, he wrote this letter and sent it home to his mother for safekeeping. In it, he described what he told investigators.
Why did you decide to write this letter and include these details in and send that home?
Because if anything were to happen to me, there would at least be some type of record so that justice could be served.
Horn says he told investigators about a lever-action rifle that was hanging in the Howes home, a rifle similar to the one Paul Francis says he saw in the pictures from inside this well. Now, a decade later, Horn says this well's proven what he told investigators nearly 10 years ago.
You gave investigators this information almost a decade ago now, and there have been no arrests. This case is still considered a cold case by the Ohio Attorney General's office.
Because they did not want to listen to me. They did not want to hear what I had to say.
Well, I mean, the evidence certainly does kind of point to one individual or a small group of individuals.
We showed our legal analyst, Mike Allen, what we had. Allen is the former Hamilton County prosecutor. He told us having a witness turn on his own brother and mother could be the make or break moment in this investigation.
When a family member rolls on another family member, that's strong stuff. What I know about the case from what you have told me and then looking at statements, I do believe that'd be enough to go to the grand jury.
What do you want out of this?
I want the murderer to pay for it. I want him to come brought to justice.
Again, investigators have not charged anyone named in this report with anything to do with this Hopper Road cold case. In fact, some of the people who made statements were already in the criminal justice system and working to make deals for themselves. Now, as for the evidence found in that well last summer, the sheriff's task force will not say whether that evidence is still in the ground or being processed to one day bring charges in the Hopper Road cold case. For Fox 19 Now Investigates, I'm Jody Barr.
So that's a very good summary. We tried to get in contact with Jody. He's very, very busy.
Yeah.
His coverage on this case has been amazing. He has dedicated so much coverage and time in investigating. Jody is the epitome of what an investigative journalist should be. He uncovers things that, and puts the truth out there. He's not, I don't know what I did, but hold on. So I'm going to read this that Jody said. This was something that he said to you, Angie.
In the group.
He said, yes, in the group. He said, "Thanks, Angie. I appreciate that. I was especially dumbfounded in the Hopper Road case when your cousin Paul took me to that house and showed me where those guns and burned clothing were in that well. Then I saw all the case files where Eric Horn gave information to the prosecution 10 years before the guns were discovered in that well. Then I confirmed with Waverly Plumbing Company that what Paul told me. The sheriff's office got a fire truck to come out and blast water down that well, knocking the bottom of the well out and washing those weapons down into an underground aquifer. The plumbing company got water down that well. Oops, sorry. The plumbing company got photographs and videos of the weapons too, which matched some of what Horn told investigators in his statement a decade before. Unreal.
Right.
Unreal.
Here's something I want to bring up too, if I can.
Absolutely. You bring up whatever you want to. We're here for you.
When they found, I seen someone's question up there that asked if it was the brother's property the well was on, and that was the home where James and Eric lived, or James and Corey lived. They moved, I think it was 2011, I think. But when the guns were found, they didn't live there. It had been sold and someone else bought it. What I want to bring up is at the time that these guns were found in a well, about maybe 10 minutes up the road is where the Rodens were murdered. And this was, let's see, April, May, June, July, 3 months after they were killed. And that was like in the beginning of the Roden investigation. They had no idea who did this. It was all new. And when these guns were found, the BCI was not called. And in my mind, if I was a sheriff and I had 8 people massacred 10 minutes up the road from where I'm standing, that it didn't matter whose property I was on or what the history of it was, I'm going to call the BCI, because somebody from that crime could have came and thrown weapons in a well. Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you would think that he would have called and said, hey, I found some guns in a well. They might pertain to an old cold case that's in my county, but I've also got 8 people up the road that were killed. I need you to come down here.
That would be
right. That's what upset me. Yeah, that's common sense. I'm not even a cop, and I would have done that.
Right.
But nobody was called. Just a fire truck was called. They put the fire hose down the well, thinking that the guns would float up, which is the most outrageous thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and blew the bottom of it out. That was in July of 2016. Told our family, there's nothing we can do. We can't retrieve them. We're sorry. And they hired a guy from the A plant down here to come out and weld it shut. Well, Jody did some digging and found out that in November of that same year, 4 months later, after they sealed it shut and said there's nothing we can do, the sheriff's office obtained 2 warrants to go back out to that property that were like 4 days apart. And those are sealed. We can't see them. We don't know what is in them, what they pertain to. But I would really like to know why they went back after they told us, there's nothing we can do. Sorry, we're welding this shut. No need for us to come back here. Well, you did go back.
Right. And not to mention, I mean, the Rodens were murdered on April 22nd, 2016. These guns were found in July of 2016.
Right.
And you're talking 8 people murdered inside 4 different properties with multiple weapons used. And even if these guns, like you said, didn't pertain to the murders of Kurt and Jenny, why wouldn't they be concerned about those down in the well? There were murderers on the loose at the time that killed 8 people.
Yes. That's the little things that do not make sense in this case. There's so many little inconsistencies and little things that, like I said before, I'm not a cop, but just little things that are just common sense that someone should do. And they didn't. Yeah. And, you're really going to blow water out of a fire hose into a well?
Right. That makes no sense.
To me, that is nothing but sabotage. That's complete sabotage.
It's like they did it on purpose.
Yes. And that's what we're trying to figure out. Why
And
did you do this on purpose?
why wouldn't they want this solved?
Right.
Why?
Well, a part of it, I haven't came out publicly with this, but I'm going to now, is the Shope case. I was digging through my records and I noticed that in March and April of 2006, right after Mr. Shope was killed in February 2006, they had ballistics back on the murder weapon. They had shell casings. They had everything they needed to at least obtain an arrest warrant to arrest this dude, to arrest Eric Horn, and say, we're going to hold you while we do this or whatever, grand jury thing, how they do their thing. And he wasn't arrested. I don't think he was arrested for many, many months later. I think he was sentenced in 2008 is when they got a confession out of him and they sentenced him to life in prison. But what my point is he should have been arrested, I believe. You got all the evidence there. You got everything you need to arrest this person, and you didn't. And guess what happened? 2 other people died in the meantime.
Yes, I have that upcoming in here. It's very alarming. It's very concerning. I
feel like that's why, you don't want people to know, hey, it's kind of like, the guy that gets charged, gets pulled over for a DUI and goes in front of the judge, and the judge cuts him a break and turns him loose. And then 3 days later, he hits someone and kills him when he should have been in jail. That's the only way I can explain it. That's how I feel. And if you screwed up and you messed up, own up to it and do right. I've went to the prosecutor. I've talked to him. He's looked me dead in the eye and told me that the person that killed your cousin's in prison for life. Okay, that's fine, but he's not in prison for killing my cousin and Jennifer. That really pissed me off. To be honest with you.
Like he basically said, well, Eric's in prison. He's where he needs to be. It doesn't matter that Kurt and Jenny don't have justice. Right.
And that hurt my feelings. I thought, oh my goodness. And I did, I held my tongue. I wanted to say choice words, but I didn't. And I do want to say this. I have talked to Mr. Junk a lot. He has been polite. He has been kind. I can't say a bad thing about him as far as his demeanor toward me and my family. He's awesome. Nice person. But I don't think things are being done the way they should be. And if it's because he screwed up and messed up, just do the right thing.
Yeah, own up to it.
That's the only other thing I can think of that's stopping all this.
Yes. Yeah. So speaking about Paul Shope, you brought him up, and I do have the statement from Eden. So Eden was dating Corey, correct? Yes.
Right.
Eden was the girlfriend of Corey Howes, which is the son of Robin Howes, who ordered the hit on Kurt. Eden gave a statement in the murder of Paul Shope, which is what we're talking about at the same time. Paul Shope was murdered. Was that February of 2006?
Yes.
Yes, February of 2006, where Jenny and Kurt were murdered December of 2006. So a 10-month difference between their murders. So Eden gave a statement, and this statement, while it regards Paul Shope, it also implicates people in the murders of Kurt and Jenny. And this is stuff that's all on file in this case. The prosecutors have it. The Attorney General's office has it.
Right.
BCI has it. And nobody's doing anything with it. So let me go ahead and read it. So Eden K. Canterbury, she made this statement on October 19th, 2007. It says, about Paul Shope's murder, I had overheard Eric Horn and James Howes discussing what had happened to Paul, and I had butted in to their conversation, and Eric had stated to me that we was all up there, him and Paul and maybe some other people, and he said that it was a drug deal gone bad, and I had asked him what he meant by that, and him and James had stopped talking and walked outside to continue their conversation between each other. And not that long after that, I had I had overheard Robin and Eric talking. Bear with me, guys, because the writing is hard to read along with
Yes.
the grammar. I had overheard Robin and Eric talking about when the police had went to Eric's house and he had taken some of his stuff, like his clothing, shoes, something I can't read, and his vehicle, and impounded it. And him and Robin also had talked about what to do with some of Eric's clothes that was at her house. And then later that evening, they had went outside and had burned Eric's stuff that was at Robin's house. So
Yeah.
this is Eden saying that Robin took Eric Horn's stuff, and burned it at her house.
Right.
About Kurt and Jenny's murders. Robin House had a party out at her house. A lot of people was there, including Kurt. He had been there for a while, and then later on, Jenny had come down to get him. Is it Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she was coming down to get Curtis, like, get your ass home.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So Jenny came down to get Kurt because she had had enough. They were arguing.
Yeah.
Jenny went ahead and left to go back home. Kurt had left soon after, and then Kurt came back later on and stayed for a while. There was some arguing at the party. I mean, everybody was out of it basically that night. Kurt had left to go back home, but soon after he had left, James House and Eric Horn had taken some kind of gun out of Robin's house and had then left. They had came back later. They had some blood on them. Robin and Kevin had pulled James and Eric into the bedroom to talk. They was talking about what had happened that night. That is the night that me and Corey had called my dad, had him meet us in Kentucky to pick us up. We never told my dad what had happened, what was going on. We only told one person, my mother, Tanya Workman, and her husband what had happened. That I can't read her writing.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. We only told one person, my mother, Tanya Workman, and her husband, what had happened, that Robin had ordered the hit on Kurt and Jenny to kill them. And the rest of what happened, we told my mother, Tanya Workman.
Right.
So that's Eden's statement. Nope, you're fine. Go ahead.
Now, Eden sent, when the BCI was called back in 2012, Sheriff Henderson became sheriff, and he was vowing to work the case and, open it back up. He called the BCI back in. She had sent them to West Virginia. Eden said that the gun was at her dad's house in a pond in West Virginia. It's like she backtracked for some reason. But the reason is she ended up being with James. She's got children by James and Corey.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So the BCI went down, they dragged the pond down there. They didn't find anything. They just sent her, I've been told by deputies, she sent them on a wild goose chase, basically. I kind of wanted to throw that in there, like she did flip a little bit and say, because if you notice in both statements, nobody ever talks about putting guns in a well. They know the clothes were burnt, they got in the shower, but they don't ever say, and then they threw the guns in the well. So that's kind of a part that kind of puzzles me a little bit. And I sit and think, like, I try to put my mind like in their mindset after they did it. Okay, or they're rushing back to the house because it doesn't take that long to get from Kurt's to their home. And Robin's telling them to get in the shower. They're burning the clothes. When did they throw the guns in the well? Because nobody talks about that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're there. They were there. Actually, I forgot to tell you this too. Curtis's pistol was in the bottom of that well too. That was stolen that night.
Oh, wow.
So whoever killed them took his pistol and threw it. They've probably took the pistol. This is in my head. You play out little scenarios in your head. That's how you try to solve things. And I thought, they took his pistol and then they probably brought it back. And if Robin's being like this mobster mom chick, that's barking orders, she probably said, why the hell would you steal his gun? People's going to know that. Get rid of it.
Right.
Throw it well. It's just a whole bunch of, this case is crazy, but the main thing is nobody's doing, like, law enforcement. They're not working on the case. I couldn't even get them. I couldn't even find out who the lead detective was on the case. It took me like a month of calling the prosecutor, calling the sheriff's office. They don't know. We don't know who it is. And finally, it was Mr. Rowe, Larry Rowe, and he had just got hired up there. It shouldn't take a family member that long to get an answer of who the hell's working on the case.
Absolutely not.
Which means, in turn, nobody's working on it because we're not doing shit with it. I'm sorry, I'm cussing.
Oh, you cuss. I don't care.
I get angry. It's not, and it's not just my family. That's the whole ball of wax. There's more families like my family, like Jenny's family, here in Pike County that have had loved ones murdered and nothing's been done about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime through my research, anytime anybody has ever been, went to prison for killing someone around here, they've got a confession.
Mm-hmm.
It was never out of, good old fashioned police work. And don't get me wrong, I've got family members that are law enforcement. I've got best buddies that are law enforcement. There's good cops out there, and I respect them. But there are bad cops too, and I think a majority of them are dealing with this case, just covering up for the big guy. Because I just can't figure out for the life of me how you can't go in and talk to these people. You can't take Kevin Prater and ask him. I dug around and found out that Kevin paid a man up the road some money to haul gravel and dirt in and put it on top of that well after the murders. Did the cops know that? No, because they're not talking to anybody. It's just frustrating. And then I tell them these things and nothing happens. And there's a reason why it's not happening. I just can't put my finger on it other than, hey, we really screwed up. Well, if you screwed up, fix it. Curtis's mother, she had 4 children and she's only got 1 living. She's lost 3 of her children and her husband. And she's waited 14 years and it's horrible.
It is horrible. And then you have to wonder, okay, so, they give you the excuse, well, Eric's serving life in prison. Okay. Well, what about Robin?
Yes. What about Robin? What about Kevin?
Yeah, what about Kevin? What about everybody else who was involved that night? Why? I mean, you have witness statements. You have a gun that was taken from Kurt and Jenny's home in the bottom of a well on at the Wynn Road property where Robin lived at the time of the murders.
Right.
You have the murder weapon, most likely. I can't say 100%, but
Right.
the other gun that is in the bottom of that well matches the description of the gun given in witness statements, along with the type of gun that killed Jenny and Kurt. So you
Yeah,
most likely have the murder weapon down there, and then you have the stolen gun from from Kurt and Jenny's house.
Right.
And you go and you blow out a well
Yeah.
and just push it further into the ground so it's even next to impossible to get it out.
And then say, sorry, see you later.
Right.
Sorry
It's
about that.
unbelievable. It's
We didn't
unbelievable.
mean to do that. And I even went into the prosecutor's office and told them I've got a buddy that's got some does well work. He used to do well work. And he's got buddies that said they would come up here like pro bono, bring all the equipment and do it for free. Because first they were giving me the excuse our county's broke. We don't have the money to go back in and dig the wells out, and look for things. And so I shot right back at him and said, I've got a guy that said he would do it for free. Now what the hell's your excuse?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, I guess we don't have one. Well, you don't have one. Yeah, I'm in touch with the property owner that owns the property now. And he's a very nice man. And he told my family, anything you want to do, you can do it. As long as you put the dirt back, is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't care if they can come in and dig. Would it be, and then I had, somebody tell me it would be useless to try to dig. If they blew the bottom of that well out, that stuff's gone. And well, maybe they didn't blow the bottom of the well out. Let's go down that. Maybe they didn't. Is that why they went back in November?
Well, I mean, this is going to sound really sarcastic and really blonde on my part, but I was under the impression that the earth is really, really, really deep. So even if they blew the well out, they can still dig and dig and dig until they get to it, right?
Right.
It's not like they're going to hit the core of the earth. It's not like it's that far down. They could get to it if they truly wanted to.
Yes, they could.
It's mind-blowing. So I have this, you asked me to share this from Sue Ann Robinson. This is a statement that she made about her nephew being murdered. It says, when my nephew was murdered, Paul Shope, they, as in law enforcement, had Eric Horn charged with murder 1 and was seeking the death penalty. Rob Junk took us in a room and told us that if we allowed a plea deal, then they were going to turn around and charge Eric Horn with the death of Kurt and Jenny. Then they would nail him with capital murder and get the death penalty. They explained if they had Eric already confessing to 1 murder, it would be a win for the double murder. Then we agreed to take the plea deal, and now we are faced with a parole hearing in less than 5 years for a horrible murderer possibly getting out of prison. Something needs to be done. This case was never even taken to a grand jury for indictment. Why? So they never even took this case to the grand jury to indict Eric Horn for murdering Kurt and Jenny.
No. He confessed. After he confessed and they sentenced him, I went to the courthouse and got all the court transcripts. He redacted the next day. I want to take my confession back. He wrote some letter saying that his lawyers didn't treat him right and didn't explain things to him. And what Sue Ann was talking about, there's a couple of proffer letters where the lawyers are talking back and forth. And I noticed that they said that Eric had told them, even though Eric was unaware that James was going to murder Kurt and Jenny that night, that James asked him for a ride to Kurt and Jenny's.
Mm-hmm.
So Eric's told them that out of his own mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Eric Horn one day on the phone, Um, and as soon as he got on the phone, I said, nice to, talk to you or whatever. And he said, thank you. And I said, did you kill my cousin? I just flat out asked him. I'm not beating around the bush with this shit.
Right.
He said, no, I didn't, but I can tell you who did, but I'm not going to tell you over the phone. And I said,
'Cause it's recorded.
right. And I said, well, if I talk to I was talking to his mother at the time. I said, if I talk to your mother, get me on your visitors list and I'll come and visit you. And he said, okay, that's fine. Well, that got shoved to the side because me and his mom kind of got in a little tiff. And
Well, I can understand that. I mean, his
and,
mom, I think, that's her son, but
right. And I understood that about Paula, but she passed away a few months ago. But
I remember, yeah.
she's a mom, and you don't want to think your child would do something like that. So I took what she said to me with a grain of salt, but we got into it a few times. Good doozies.
Well, good for you for standing up for what's right, because I think you know me pretty well, and
Yes.
I'm all about what's right. And God forbid my children ever commit something horrible like that.
Yes.
But I would still love my children, because your love for your children is never ending. It's a love that doesn't go away. But I would
Right.
never cover up for them. I would never lie for them, and I would accept the truth.
Yes.
I'd probably do the investigating myself too, as you all know me, because
I already
mean,
told my kids that.
yeah,
They know.
yeah.
But there's things in the showcase that I find that were done wrong. We need help here.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that our department is small. I understand that, and it's hard. But damn, pick the phone up and call somebody that can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Won't even pick the phone up and ask the BCI to come in here again. That's what I don't understand. And then for Mr. Reader to tell, he told one of the family members, well, now that the Wagners are in jail, I can focus on Kurt and Jenny. Well, you know what? Kurt and Jenny happened way before the murder, the rodents happened. Your ass should have been doing it before that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lame excuse. That upset me really bad. And I think that they when they work with Curtis's mother, she's a beautiful, wonderful soul. If anybody out there knows her, you can vouch for her. She's a great lady. She's very timid, and I think that she's a very trusting person. She doesn't want to see the bad in anybody, and I think they kind of just sugarcoat shit with her.
Yeah. Car Guy 72 asked, he said, I wonder if Junk and Reader have dirt on each other, and that's why Charlie pled guilty. So for anybody who's not familiar with Pike County, I am going to start covering this more along with the Roden case. I stepped away for a while, but we are going to cover it here at WTAF because, as Angie knows, the Roden case is near and dear to my heart. I'm
Yes.
like a walking encyclopedia sometimes on that case. And we're going to start covering that and some more things going on in Pike County. But if you're not aware, Charlie Reader was the sheriff. He was the newly elected sheriff when the Rodens were murdered. However, when Kurt and Jenny were killed, he processed the crime scene at Hopper Road, correct, Angie?
Yes.
And he processed some of that alone.
Right. Yes.
So, and then the Pike County Sheriff's Office advised Jenny's mom to destroy the trailer that they lived in.
Curtis's mother.
Oh, Curtis's mother. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They advised Curtis's mother to destroy the trailer that Jenny and Kurt lived in.
Charlie actually came, I think it was the next day, and helped Curtis's brother clean up blood in the trailer.
Oh.
And I asked Paul, which is Curtis's brother, I said, did he have a uniform on or no, this is how good-hearted my family is. No, he just came out of the kindness of his heart and came and helped me do that because he knew it was, real hard on us. And I'm thinking, no.
Right.
You see what I mean? That's how I feel like they take advantage of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're too trusting.
Well, and you do have to wonder, anybody who in the chat is familiar with Pike County, if you're not, post in our WTAF group. We can definitely start a discussion on this. Angie and I talk about it all the time.
Right.
The shit's deep there, you guys. I mean, I know, Angie, you said that Rob Junk has treated you with respect and kindness, and that's a great thing. But he's got some dirt on his hands in other areas too. Like, giving Joel Jenkins a gun. That's a problem. He gave Joel Jenkins was a former cop, correct?
Yes.
And Joel Jenkins then used the gun that Rob Junk, the prosecuting attorney for Pike County, he used that gun and he shot somebody with it. So
Jason Brady.
Yes, he shot Jason Brady. So there's a lot. It's so deep. It's so deep, and to cover it in one live, obviously we couldn't do it. We're focusing on Kurt and Jenny today. We're going to continue to focus on Kurt and Jenny too.
Yes. But just letting everybody know what we deal with here. Like I understand that there's corruption everywhere, and I get that, and it's just well, like I said before, people are afraid to come forward because, if the cops are going to this length to keep something under wraps, you're going to be afraid to come out and say, hey, I know this. Because you're more afraid. I said this before in an interview, I'm more afraid of law enforcement than I am of the people who did this.
Right. And not law enforcement in general, law enforcement where you live.
Right. It's bad. It's bad here. Like I said, there are good cops. God bless them. I love them. But there's dirt. And what Car Guy said about Junk and Reader having dirt on each other, abso-freaking-lutely. I believe that they have to.
Oh, they went to war with each other publicly over social media.
Yes. Something's there, and it's not good.
Yes.
And I don't know if Charlie's going to pull that, out of his hat to try to get out of what he's got going on. We've got a sheriff that had 18 indictments against him. Then we've got the Mike Trout. He was actually getting a hold of me about Kurt and Jenny's case. The BCI agent that was the head of the rodent investigation was talking to me forth about Kurt and Jenny, and then I get on Facebook one day and there he's suspended. I'm like, are you kidding me? Everybody that I have that I'm trying to get help me, they're dirty or something's wrong.
Something seriously wrong. Something seriously wrong. And maybe we should do another live about all the corruption, Angie. We should do one on that, because I even question things like, at the time it was Attorney General DeWine. And if anybody followed the Roden case, my gosh, he made those arrests right around election time when he became governor. It's so political that you can't wrap your head around it. Now, I wholeheartedly believe the Wagners are responsible. I do believe that. But I don't discount that there's corruption, and there's probably people paid off, and there's people involved that will never be charged, I think, on top of the Wagners.
I believe that too. People that have power.
Yes.
And I wanted to mention too, if it was okay, I wanted to mention Jacob Lansing. He was murdered in 2012. You guys all down in the chat, you can probably just Google his name, Jacob Lansing, Pike County, and it'll come up. His mother, Maureen, she's fighting for justice for her boy here in Pike County. She's got a reward put up. She's had trouble too. There's a woman that was murdered in 2000. Her name was Sonia Medic. They found her in a field beat. Nothing
Mm.
about that. There was a Mr. Thompson out in Beaver, probably, I don't know, 10 minutes away from here, from Waverly. It's in Pike County. He was shot. Nothing's ever been done about it. There's a list of people, and it's ridiculous.
Mhm. We have a couple questions. If you could put me in touch with those people, I would love to help them. Love to
Oh,
help
good.
them. I would
Yes.
love to get their stories out there. If anybody knows me, I don't care if there's 10 people in the chat or there's 600 in the chat. I'm going to come out on here and I'm going to put their story on there, and we're here for justice. That's what WTAF is for. We are
Right.
here to help people get justice. So please put me in contact with them and I will help them as much as I can.
I
Same.
appreciate that. Will
Of
too.
course. Of course. Manda, Texas gal asked, would all of us contacting the Ohio Attorney General's office help? Would it help if we did that?
That would be great if you could. That would be
Okay.
awesome. You can email them. I have had a group of people emailing. Well, when Mike DeWine was AG, and now Dave Yost. Never heard back from him, but it doesn't hurt to say you tried. So yes, if you want to do that, if you want to call the sheriff's department
Mhm.
and let
So
them know.
yeah, we'll definitely put those phone numbers and emails in the description of this video for anybody who's in the chat and anybody who watches the replay. Please just take 5 minutes and just ask why isn't the murders of Curtis Francis and Jennifer Burgette solved? Why isn't
Yeah.
there solved? The evidence is there. This family needs justice. Flood them with emails. I'm going to pull this comment down real quick because we have some more stuff here on the slideshow to come back to Paul Shope's murder, which is, it's not linked to Kurt and Jenny's murder directly, but it is at the same time because the same person is involved. And had this person been arrested back at the time, in the time that they had the evidence, Kurt and Jenny would be alive today. I
Right.
wholeheartedly believe that. And there was evidence to prosecute at that time. Yes, like Nay folks said, let's be classy and help this family.
Thank you.
Justice is, yes, Della Gordon, justice is needed. And if you guys can please hit the thumbs up button, not because I want to get likes on this video. I want this video to generate within YouTube so that people hear Angie and they hear the story of her cousin and his fiance being murdered in the safety of their own home while they were asleep. We just want to get the word out. It's not to help me, it's to help her. And it's to help Curtis and Jenny and all of their family and everybody who loves them. It will be 14 years. What's the date today, guys? It's 2020. I'm lost. I still think I'm in like August sometimes. Is it December 5th?
The 5th,
So
yeah. 4
in
days.
4 days, it will be 14 years that they were murdered, and there's still no justice, nobody charged, and there's several people that should be charged.
Yes.
So we read Sue Ann Robinson's statement. I'm going to go on to the next part here. It says, why
Eric,
was...
oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I wanted to say that Eric comes up for parole. I think it's 2024, 2025.
Wow.
And there's a possibility he could get out.
Mm-hmm.
I know Sue Ann and her family is going to do everything in their power to see that doesn't happen, but he could, it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's scary.
It is scary. It's very scary because then you'll have a murderer walking the streets again. So why wasn't Eric Horn charged as soon as possible? The evidence to charge Eric Horn for the murder of Paul Shope was present before the murders of Kurt and Jenny. If Pike County had charged Eric in March of 2006 with the ballistic evidence investigators had at the time, there is a very strong possibility, probably like without a doubt, that Kurt and Jenny would have never been murdered because Eric would have been in jail. Even
Yep.
if he claims that he wasn't the trigger man, whatever he claims, it would have stopped a lot of things because you know what? Eric wouldn't have been at that house that night. Eric wouldn't have got in that truck with Kevin.
Exactly.
There's so much.
I mean, what's the chances of you being at 3 murders?
Mhm.
Oh, but I didn't do anything. I wasn't involved. No.
Mhm.
Come.
I'm going to read this evidence list. So, the evidence that was submitted for the murder of Paul Shope, the suspects at the time were Eric Horn, Nicole Wade, and Matthew Reynolds. Submitted on February 24th, 2006 by Deputy Spradlin.
Yeah.
There was one pillbox containing one spent 9mm casings from Area 1 at the murder scene. One pillbox containing one spent 9mm casing from Area 2 at the murder scene. One pillbox containing one spent 9mm casing from Area 3 at the murder scene. Brown paper bag containing gray shirt, blue shirt, Pittsburgh Steelers pants removed from the body of Paul Shope III by the Hamilton County Coroner's Office. A brown bag containing underwear, one button-down shirt, 6 white socks, and a bandana removed from the body of Paul Shope III by Hamilton County Coroner's Office. A plastic bag containing one spent 9mm casing found in the yard of Nicole J. Wade. Submitted on February 28th, 2006 by Lieutenant Tom King. One box containing one High Point model C9 9mm Luger caliber semi-automatic pistol, serial number obliterated, one nylon holster, 2 magazines, one box of Winchester 9mm Luger ammo, 47 line rounds. The submitted High Point model C9 9mm Luger caliber semi-automatic pistol. Item number 49 was examined, test fired, and found to be functional. Further examination of the High Point pistol revealed that the pistol exhibited extensive damage to its internal surface. Additionally, the serial number on the front portion of the frame had been obliterated. The serial number on the particular pistol is stamped in 2, and it goes on. But anyways, these eventually, right? These rounds matched the rounds fired from the gun.
Right.
There was a matching.
Yes. They went to Eric Horn's home and to his girlfriend's home where he did like target practice, and they found the same shell casings, just like in the Rodens, where they found the same shell casings at the crime scene, and shell casings matched that came out of that particular gun on his property. He had taken the gun, and if I remember correctly, I've got a lot of information up in my noggin. He had taken the gun and put it in his girlfriend's car in a brown paper sack. And she had no idea. She had left to go visit her father. Her and her dad went to clean her car out, I guess is what I was told. And she found the gun. The dad called the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department got the gun. And everything matched. They had taken something and shoved it down in the barrel, I guess, to try to mess up like the lands and grooves in the bullets. But there's also a wiretap of Eric Horn's mom. Someone wore a wire in on her. I've got the document somewhere where that's written down. I could send it to you. And she was laughing on this wiretap, saying the cops were so dumb that they didn't even look in the flower pot because that's where she put the gun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Wow.
there's no doubt in my mind that he killed Paul Shope. And there's no doubt in my mind that they had everything they needed there then in the beginning of 2006 to arrest his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. Now, I know that after Paul passed away, after his murder, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 days later, they hauled in Eric's truck. Like, they zeroed in on him instant. As soon as that happened.
Wow.
Things just weren't adding up, and they had everything they needed. I think. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's something that I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's enough to arrest somebody. I mean, they arrested the Wagners for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they took it to grand jury and got a grand jury to do it. This hasn't even been taken to a grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think anybody has even been arrested. You know, how they can arrest you and hold you and question you. That hasn't even happened in this case.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, well, whatever. And I'm pretty sick of it. My family's pretty sick of it. And, you know, squeaky wheel gets the most grease. So call me Squeaky, because that's what I'm going to do.
I'll squeak with you. I mean,
Yay!
I'd be willing to come there and stand outside the courthouse and hold up signs if that's what we have to do, whatever it takes. Car Guy 72 asked, what can you tell us about Robin? Does she have a criminal record?
Yes, she does. I haven't dug too much into it. I found a couple of, she got, I think it was fraud. She stole someone's checkbook. Wrote some bad checks. She's got petty things like, you know, shoplifting, things like that. Nothing I mean, that's kind of major, but nothing like violent in the way of violence. No.
I'll send you her report. I've never looked into it, but I will. I'll send it to you.
And I've never asked, I've never talked to Robin. I talked to Eric for a short time. I've never talked to James. I've never talked to Corey or Eden. And a part of me, I want to talk to him. I want to say, hey, if you guys weren't involved in this, then you need to tell and just get it out in the open. You know, maybe take James and say, if you didn't do this, but you were there, just tell. And we'll figure out something. Because if not, if we do get somebody that gives a damn that's going to work this case, your ass is going to jail. You know, until we figure out who did it. But I mean, the people that I've talked to that were in that circle of people, I've asked them, have the cops ever came and talked to you since this happened? Well, no. Nobody's ever came. Nobody's did like, you know, a fresh set of eyes and, oh, okay, I'm going to go re-interview these people and try to put, you know, 2 and 2 together. Nobody's ever done that. That's what upsets me. It's like, it's not a big deal, and it is a very big deal. I'm sure if that happened to their children, they would pull out, you know, all stops to find out who did this.
Well, I know Drake is down in the chat, and he even said, you know, if this was a judge or a cop's son, it would have been solved and prosecuted. So, and he's right. He's right. And it's just so sad, Angie. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry for you and your family and Jenny's family. It's unbelievable.
It's like you're standing in the middle of this big crowd and you're screaming and nobody, it's like you're invisible. And you know, if you can't arrest anybody, if you can't prosecute anybody, if this is a no-win situation and you can't do this, then go publicly and say it. Say we can't do this. There's no, but you, because there's too much there. There is too much there. I don't understand how it couldn't even go to grand jury. So they threw around the phrase, you know, it's all circumstantial, Angie. It's all circumstantial evidence. Well, Well, then try it. And well, we only get one shot at it and we want to do it right. You're not even freaking doing anything, period. And it pisses me off. Makes me, I want to say more, but I have to be PG.
Oh, you don't have to be PG. I don't care. You're fine. Say whatever you got to say. Madame Deficit said, so the cold case guys didn't even question people. What did they do? What's interesting is one of those cold case guys was Charlie Reeder's brother.
Yeah.
So
that got fired from the prosecutor's office.
That got fired. What did they do when they assembled this cold case team for Kurt and Jenny? Did they do anything?
We didn't even know they did it.
Wow.
We had no idea. Had no clue. Didn't call and say, hey, we got this unit. We're going to do this. No updates. Jack shit. Nothing. You know, truth be known, that was probably a ploy to get grant money or something. Who the hell knows?
At this point, it wouldn't surprise me. It truly wouldn't, because following this for, well, you know, of course, I learned about Kurt and Jenny's murders from following the Roden murders, and it will be 5 years in April that they've been murdered. Yeah. So, I can personally say I've went down some deep, deep rabbit holes when it comes to Pike County, and as well as Kurt and Jenny's case. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And I just don't understand. Like I've got a lot of, like you, I've got a lot of supporters that help me. Me and my daughter and my mother took flyers and put them around town, and a lot of businesses let us put the flyers up. And a lot of people said, I didn't even know this happened. That's what hurts me.
Oh, I can't imagine.
And I had one man in a gas station tell me he's lived here his whole life and didn't know this happened. I've lived here my whole life too. And he said, I've lived here my whole life and I didn't even know this happened. And I was like, oh gosh, that's why I started like, okay, this has to be balls to the wall. I tried
Can
to
you give
that.
people an idea of how small the area is that you're in? Even though Pike County is large when you talk about square miles, but the area that you guys are in and where Kurt and Jenny were murdered and the Rodens were murdered, the community itself is very small.
Yes, it's very, this is one of two words I cannot say very well, which is rural.
I can't say it either. I was trying to say it earlier, actually, in a conversation. I was like, I can't say that word.
I can't. I hesitated to try to say it.
Call it the country.
Yes, the sticks, out in the sticks.
Yeah.
Like where Kurt and Jenny was, there it's a road, it's a dirt road. Well, they might have paved it now. You got a trailer here or there. Everybody knows everybody's business though. That's usually. Right. But it's just like what you see on TV in little rural county. It's a little town is what it is. Piketon is a village. Waverly, where I live in Pike County, is actually a village. We used to be a city, but they knocked us down to a village. Piketon's a village. Beaver's a village. We've got like 4 areas, and Latham is like a little village, but it's
a bunch of little country towns. I mean, it's literally the countryside. You're talking about, this is the foothills of the Appalachians. There's, hollers, and it's not a highly populated area.
No, I think in town here in Waverly, we've got what, Elizabeth, 6, 7 stoplights. 6, if that. If that. So we got a Walmart.
Yeah, we got a Walmart.
And we've got a Family Dollar in every holler.
Do you have a Target? Do you have a Target? Because
not in Pike County, no.
There's not a Target in my town, and it really upsets me. It's totally off topic, but I can't stand it.
I think there's one. Is there one in Chillicothe, Elizabeth? Yeah. I think there's one in Ross County that's like 15 minutes from us.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No, it's not. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. I know we got a Walmart and a Kroger's and like 5 Family Dollars and Dollar General and 700 gas stations and 500 pizza shops.
Is there
it's
anything
not
else you want to share?
I just want to tell everybody thank you for coming on here. Your team is awesome. I follow you guys like crazy.
Thank you.
Your team is great. You guys are so professional. I think you're very professional. I've snooped around and looked at other YouTube channels, and I always come back to you guys because you're to the point. There's no bullshit, and you don't allow bullshit, which is awesome. And you're factual. And I couldn't think of a better channel to have cover Kurt and Jenny, because
Aw.
I know any digging that'll be done, it'll be correct and proper and come from you.
Yeah, and I'm sure our team will be digging a lot tonight. I told the Texas girl down there earlier, I'm like, we're doing this live early, but I'm glad because that means I can spend the rest of the night. I can just go digging and
Yes.
just do whatever we got to do. And I'm sure we'll pull out all the stops that we can. And we do have a website now. It's wickedtruthsandfbombs.com. So maybe we'll get a blog up there to help you. Hopefully we
Yes.
can do that and put all this stuff in a blog and get an article written up for that.
If anybody
And
sorry.
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
If anybody in the chat has questions, anything if they want to get a hold of me on Facebook, they can. I'll talk to them.
Yeah, we shared the link to Jenny and Kurt's Facebook group that Angie runs. It's been shared many times in the chat. We'll drop it again. Angie also runs a Twitter. She has a Facebook page for Kurt and Jenny. She's doing everything she possibly can to get their names out there. Is there anybody that has any questions that you want to ask Angie, or do you want me to replay Jody Barr's video that he did for anybody that's coming in late? And everybody who's coming in late, hi. I'm not looking at my phone right now, so I can't address you in chat, but hi, I see you and thank you for being here. Yeah, Janice, you know what? The late ones are getting past my bedtime too. I'm getting old. I need sleep, guys. I can't do the late stuff anymore.
My little grandson, he's such a blessing, but boy, he's whooped Mammal's ass the past couple of days.
That's what you were telling me. He's so cute. He's so cute. Tell Elizabeth I said congratulations. He is beautiful and she did a great job.
I was like, oh, I'm feeling my age with this baby right here. Telling you last night, I'm like, hey, Mammal's in bed by like 9. Unless something's going on, Mammal goes to bed by 9 or 9:30.
So we have some questions. Dawn, yes, I will replay it. I'll replay Jody's video. Let's answer some questions and we'll replay that video. Janice Miller asked, what do you feel the actual motive is, Angie?
I think it was Curtis's medication. He had gotten, I should have mentioned that and I didn't. He had gotten shoulder surgery right before this happened. And the medication he was given was back then in 2006. The main like drug thing back then was like cocaine, and pain pills were just hitting here.
Mm-hmm.
They were here, but they were just becoming a problem, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And I guess he got some really high-powered Percocets, and he got a lot of them. And I know Curtis didn't like taking them. I'm sure he did take them when he was in pain, but he wasn't like a pill popper, I guess you would call him. So he had quite a bit, is what someone told me. He had a large amount of them, and back then, they were worth a lot of money. And that's what Eric Horn was a dope dealer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think the motive was. Now, people that were there that night said that Curtis owed Kevin some money. it could have been that. But I think the main thing is because they took his medications. They took all of his pills. They took Jenny's purse, which I was told Jenny didn't have anything in it, just like her wallet and stuff, but it was empty. I know that Curtis's mother had wrote a check out for Curtis to fill in for the electric, and they didn't take it. So they were, I mean, if I'm going to go rob someone, you got a blank check laying there, I'm going to take it.
Right.
It was on the counter. So they were pretty well focused. And Curtis, I do have to say, Curtis was a good guy. Him and Jenny both were good people. He wasn't that much of a troublemaker. You pissed him off, you had to deal with him. And that's how he was. And everybody knew that. If you had a fight on your hands, if you messed with him. So a part of me, I think that too, kind of like if they were thinking, let's go rob him, they were thinking, we better take something because he's going to kick our ass. That's just the kind of person he was. But I think it was, a part of me thinks it was on the fly and a part of me doesn't. They didn't, I sit and think, how did they get in that house?
Mm-hmm.
Was the door unlocked? They had dogs. Their dogs would bark. And from what I've been told, Curtis never woke up. He was just shot and died. Now, Jenny, of course, when they shot Curtis, it woke Jenny up. And I think Jenny fought or tried to fight. And she was shot underneath her left armpit.
Oh my
through her
gosh.
breast. So I think it was like she was kind of holding her arm up. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and it's just, I think the motive was drug related, and because I'm going to put this out there too. This was after Paul Shope was killed. Curtis didn't like Eric because of that. He didn't want Eric around him, around his home. And I had a few witnesses tell me they had seen Curtis tell him, don't step foot in my yard. Don't come around. You killed somebody, So there was a little bit of animosity there maybe too. Just
That makes sense. It does.
Curtis was very vocal. If he didn't like you, you knew it.
Yeah. Madame Deficit asked, have you considered going to the Justice Department, the FBI, etc.? There's too much corruption for you to trust the local authorities.
I have contacted those two organizations, haven't heard anything back. I rarely get people to write me back. I've called, leave voicemails. Nobody calls me back.
Wow.
That's why we're so aggravated and frustrated.
Wow.
And the BCI, I called before all this started. I didn't really understand. I've got very educated. I just always thought that the BCI could just come in and be like, hey, we're taking, they have to be, they're an assisting agency. So they have to be asked to come.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So like the FBI, they have to be asked to come.
Right. And I will give this much. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Nelson, who is our sheriff right now that took Charlie's place. I did go visit him right after he became sheriff-elect or interim sheriff. He did listen to me. He did care about what I said, and he did do what I asked him to do, which was I had been talking, like I said earlier, to that BCI agent, and he told me if I ever got anybody to listen to him, to give them his phone number. And I gave that number to Mr. Nelson, and he did call, and then we found out that BCI agent was suspended. So I do want to tell him thank you for listening and for trying and doing what we asked, but still could have called someone else.
Right.
But he did listen to me, and sometimes I feel like when I go to talk to somebody about it that's of authority, they just kind of blow me off or just sugarcoat and just get me out of their office. And he really did take the time to listen to what I had to say. He looked at some things I had written down, and he did listen. I do want to publicly tell him thank you for that, for having a heart. He's got compassion.
That's great.
I didn't feel like a nobody sitting there. So
Good. That's great. You should never feel like a nobody sitting in front of a sheriff who's
Right.
investigating the murders of your family members.
Right.
Car Guy 72 asked, didn't Curtis get some money from hurting his shoulder? I thought I read that he had a lot of money from it.
Okay, he had money coming. It was a settlement. He got hurt at work. It was supposed to come any day. It was not there. He had not got it. Maybe they thought he did get it. That could have been a motive too. Or because Robin told him to go do it. It's just crazy. You know, somebody just looking up and saying, hey, go kill Curtis. You know?
That's what really bothers me is why did Robin want Curtis dead?
Right. If it's over the money, because I've talked to people that were there that night, and they said Curtis might have owed Kevin $100 or a couple $100. And really, you're going to kill someone over that? If that's what happened, if that's the case that she did say, hey, go kill Curtis, he owes you money. You know, is she that powerful to tell people to go do that? And then after, I don't know if I sent you the pictures or not, where James and Eric got into an altercation after all this.
You did.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll post them. What I'll do is I'll take those pictures and post them under the post and WTAF about this live so that people can see the pictures. So if you're not in our main Facebook group, definitely join it so you can see the pictures. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go on about that. I'm sorry.
I'll send you emails too that I got a hold of. That was from Robin. She was actually talking to Jenny's sister, and she was kind of telling her side of that altercation between Horn and James. She says that this was after both murders, that Eric came there and, you know, basically started shit with James, and James got up and whipped his ass. Well, then Eric's side of it was Robin had called him and asked him to come out alone to talk to her and James. And here's my thing on this. If you know these people supposedly killed 2 individuals and you have nothing to do with it, like you're claiming you don't, why are you going to go out to that house by yourself? When you know these people are capable of murder. So I think Eric's story on that is a crock of shit. And why they got into it, I don't know. I know James put a whooping on him. And there is also a video. James actually stabbed someone a few months ago here. He got into I hate to say this. He got out of his car. It's on video. It's on these people's camera at their house. He gets out of the vehicle and 2 individuals come up with ball bats and start beating on him. And he stabs one of them, which one's a girl and one's a boy. But in my mind, the way that my mind thinks, which is there's a method to my madness. I watched that video and I watched him. He hesitated before he stabbed that guy. And these people were whooping his ass with these ball bats. And he hesitated, but he did it. And then the girl, after he stabbed the guy, the girl is still whooping up on him. And he never raised a hand to her.
Wow.
And in my mind, I thought, if you're this horrible, brutal killer, you're going to stab that person. Or you're going to at least smack her. Or she's whipping your ass with a ball bat. And he didn't. He didn't. And to me, that kind of, do you see where I'm getting at, what I'm getting at? Like, that kind of made me think, is he really this bad of a person? That's when I started leaning toward, I think James is always in the wrong place at the wrong damn time. Don't get me wrong. He's a bad dude. He does bad shit. But as far as when I watched that video, I thought when I was watching it in the beginning, I thought, oh, now I'm going to see the evil come out of him. You know, it's going to show, and it didn't, and that struck me as odd. It was really. I might send that to you so you can put it up.
Yeah, definitely send me everything that I'd like to see that video actually. Coat of Many Colors, did you see my answer about the patches? The patches were in regards to the Paul Shope murder. Eric Horn killed Paul Shope over pain patches. Let's see
It
if
gets
there's any
kind of
more
confusing because they intertwine.
They do. Yeah, they do. Let's see what else we have. Now, what do you think about Robin's boyfriend? Do you think he just went and did it because she told him to? Or
I don't think he did it. I don't think he went. I think it was James and Eric. I think he burnt the clothes. I think he burnt the clothing.
Mhm.
and I know for a fact he paid a dude to cover that well up.
Right.
Right. But I don't think he did it. I don't. And in Jody's video, he's the only one that called him back. And
yeah, you're right. You're right.
And that is what I've always told authorities. There's your weak link. There's the dude you need to back in the corner and talk to him and get it out of him and go from there with him. Build your shit around what he's saying. If you're we can't take Eden and Corey's word for anything because they lie. Well, big deal, you know. Go talk to Kevin. They haven't. They. That's what drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, and when you see these letters, I mean, Corey threw his mom under the bus.
Yeah.
And not many people would do that. Even if he's a bad guy, he's in prison right now. He doesn't make the best life choices. He's a criminal, whatever. He still threw his own mother under the bus.
Yes.
And I don't think he would just say that his mom did this or ordered this to be done just for the hell of saying it.
Right. Exactly. And on Jody's video, when Jody asks Robin if her name is Robin, and she says no.
Right. Right.
And she called the police on him after he left.
Are you serious?
Yeah, she called the police department on him, the Piketon Police Department, and she was trying to say, I can't remember. I'll have to ask Jody. We were laughing about it. He said, yeah, she called the cops on me for knocking on her door.
Oh
and
my gosh.
The cops told her that there was nothing they could do because she said, come in, you know.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah, she called the police. She called the police on him.
So I'm going to play this video one more time because they requested it, a few people in the chat. If you want to stay on, Angie, you're more than welcome. If you have more that you want to share, you're more than welcome to share away. Or if you have things that you need to do, we can let you go. It's completely up to you. You just tell me. Okay. All right, good. So, all right, for everybody in the chat who's just joining or joined late, we're going to play this video by Jody Barr. He was an investigative reporter in the Pike County area. I shared this earlier. He's now an investigative reporter, actually working for the same station that covers the Heidi Broussard case. So he is one of the best investigative reporters I've ever seen. He does great work, and he's no bullshit. He puts the truth out there. And no matter if people like it or not. So we'll play his video again for everybody to hear that and see what happened here. And thank you all for being here as well. Everybody that I couldn't say hi to, thank you for being here. If you can do anything, please hit the thumbs up so that people see this video for Angie, her family, Jenny's family, the victims, that this needs to be heard. So with that, we will play the video.
10 years ago, 2 people were murdered in their beds in Pike County. It's a case that still tonight is unsolved and the killers on the loose. But we've uncovered evidence that some say shows this one could have been solved a long time ago. And just months ago, the discovery of a well at a Pike County home, a well that could hold the evidence investigators have spent a decade looking for. The call came into dispatchers December 9th, 2006. A Pike County mother found her daughter and soon-to-be son-in-law shot to death. Kurt Francis and Jennifer Burgette were their names. But 10 years later, the case has gone cold.
This well was covered up that deep. It was probably dug for 2 to 3 days. Pretty well around the clock.
Last summer, Paul Francis was knocking out a plumbing job for a friend here on Wynn Road. It's the last place his brother was before he was murdered in 2006. Paul's waited ever since for investigators to solve this case. Never did he think he might be the one to break it wide open.
And it was buried underneath like 4 foot of rocks and dirt. And it was being hid. Nobody knew the well was there till we found them.
So it was an accident you found it?
Yeah, complete accident. Well, somebody wanted, the Lord on the wanted us to find it, I reckon. We found it.
The Francis family called the sheriff's office last July to report finding the well. The Pike County Sheriff's Office taped it off, then hired a plumber to run a camera down it. Investigators, Francis says, showed him the pictures of what they found down there.
I seen the pictures later of it. Me and my mom looked like I call it a saddle gun, a lever action, 18 shot, 30-06. That's what my brother was killed with, and his wife, his fiance, and a pistol. It's in that well right now. We're supposed to not say nothing about that, but I think something's time for it to be said.
Francis says investigators searched the water around this home in the years after the murders. The searches, Francis says investigators told him, were to find the murder weapons. After a few years, the Hopper Road case was shelved, listed as a cold case by the Ohio Attorney General's office. A few months ago, we uncovered 10-year-old witness statements in a separate Pike County murder case, statements that appear to tell the whole story about what happened here on Hopper Road in December 2006. These are the 6 people whose names show up in the statements we found. Robin Howes owned the house with the well. She shared that home with her boyfriend, Kevin Hoskins Prater, and her son, James Howes. Corey Howes is Robin's youngest son. Corey and his girlfriend at the time, Eden Canterbury, gave investigators statements in a separate murder case. Eden wrote, Robin Howes ordered the hit that killed Kurt Francis and Jenny Burgette. Corey and Eden's statements went on to say, his brother James Howes and a family friend, Eric Horn, took a rifle out of the home and came back later with bloody clothes. Now, those same statements show that Robin Howes ordered James Howes and Eric Horn into the shower, while Kevin Hoskins Prater burned their bloody clothes and buried them somewhere in their yard. We tried to track the people down who gave those statements. Corey Howes is in prison. So is his brother, James Howes. Neither agreed to interviews. We could not track Eden Canterbury down. And after several trips to Pike County, we found the new home Robin Howes and Kevin Hoskins Prater share in Piketon. Robin Howes' son, Corey Howes' girlfriend, told investigators in 2007 Robin Howes ordered the hit against Kurt Francis. Corey Howes told investigators Jenny Burgette wasn't supposed to be home. We wanted to ask Robin Howes about the allegations against her.
You doing, Miss Howes?
No.
Are you Robin Pazolt?
Nope.
All right. Looking for Kevin Hoskins, too, if he's here.
Nope.
We made several attempts to speak with Robin Howes and Kevin Hoskins Prater. Kevin Hoskins Prater returned a call, said he wanted the killers found, but never agreed to interview with us. This was the last contact we had with either one. Do the names James Howes, Robin Howes, Kevin Pazolt, or Prater, those names mean anything to this case?
Again,
No
I'm not
comment.
at liberty to discuss any names in the case that we're looking at, actively looking at, or past looked at. It's not happening.
These are the four men working to solve Pike County's stack of unsolved murders. Investigator Brian Reeder told us the unit's giving the Hopper Road case another try.
I can tell you with new technology, with DNA collection, touch DNA, and et cetera, we're in the process of returning some of the physical evidence that was originally collected, sending it off to have retested as well.
Have you been able to develop any type of motive profile of the suspects that you may be looking for in this case?
No comment.
But what about last summer when Paul Francis uncovered that well at the former Howell's home?
There was a rifle and a handgun found in this well with burned clothing. Has that gotten you anywhere at this point?
No comment.
Have you guys been able to pull this out of that well at this time?
No comment.
No comment.
We tracked down a man who claims to be a witness in the Hopper Road case. We found him at a state prison in Pickaway County.
The question has to be asked, did you have anything to do with this double homicide?
No.
Eric Horn is one of the people accused in the Hopper Road statements. Horn serving a life sentence in a separate murder case. He claims he was at the Howell's Wynn Road home the night of the murders, but left before Kurt Francis left and was later murdered.
Did you ever see Kurt Francis again?
No, I did not.
In September 2008, nearly a year following the Hopper Road murders, Eric Horn was inside the Pike County Courthouse about to take a plea deal in a separate murder case. State prosecutors, Horn's case file shows, were negotiating a deal with Horn for information on the Hopper Road case. Horn says he wrote a statement then claiming Robin Howells ordered the hit against Kurt Francis and Kevin Hoskins Prater, and James Howells carried it out. Horn says James Howells admitted that to him a few months after the Hopper Road murders.
What did James tell you?
James was in the front yard chopping firewood, and he broke down and said, "Kevin done it. Kevin done it." And I said, "Kevin did what?" He broke down, started crying. It was Robin's doing. She's the one that basically made him do it.
Eric Horn says days after giving prosecutors the information on the Hopper Road murders, he wrote this letter and sent it home to his mother for safekeeping. In it, he described what he told investigators.
Why did you decide to write this letter and include these details in and send that home?
Because if anything were to happen to me, there would at least be some type of record so that justice could be served.
Horn says he told investigators about a lever action rifle that was hanging in the Howells home, a rifle similar to the one Paul Francis says he saw in the pictures from inside this well. Now, a decade later, Horn says this well's proven what he told investigators nearly 10 years ago.
You gave investigators this information almost a decade ago now, and there have been no arrests. This case is still considered a cold case by the Ohio Attorney General's office.
Because they did not want to listen to me. They did not want to hear what I had to say.
Well, I mean, the evidence certainly does kind of point to one individual or a small group of individuals.
We showed our legal analyst, Mike Allen, what we had. Allen is the former Hamilton County prosecutor. He told us having a witness turn on his own brother and mother could be the make or break moment in this investigation.
When a family member rolls on another family member, that's strong stuff. What I know about the case from what you have told me and then looking at statements, I do believe that'd be enough to go to the grand jury.
What do you want out of this?
I want the murderer to pay for it. I want him to come brought to justice.
Again, investigators have not charged anyone named in this report with anything to do with this Hopper Road cold case. In fact, some of the people who made statements were already in the criminal justice system and working to make deals for themselves. Now, as for the evidence found in that well last summer, the sheriff's task force will not say whether that evidence is still in the ground or being processed to one day bring charges in the Hopper Road cold case. For Fox 19 Now Investigates, I'm Jody Barr.
Okay, so there's that. Oops, you probably couldn't hear me. there's that. For anybody who didn't know the full story, it's a crazy one.
Also, the TV network A&E, they have a show, I think it's called Cold Case Files or something. I can't remember the name of it. They contacted Mr. Reeder back in 2016 and said that they would come. They wanted to do like a documentary on Kurt and Jenny. They would pay to have divers come in, like backhoes, dump trucks. They would pay for everything to get down in that well. And Charlie refused to let him come.
I remember that. And why?
Yeah, I do
Why?
I wanted to put that out there that he, that was, they keep throwing around, we didn't have enough money. Well, you've got people saying they wanted to do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
He said no. And he also told Curtis's mother when Jody Barr was coming, Jody was supposed to come on a Tuesday, I think, to interview her. He called Judy and told her not to talk to Jody Barr.
Wow.
And when Jody went there to talk to her, Judy, being the sweet lady that she is, listening to her sheriff, told him, I don't think I'm going to do this. And Paul, which is in the video, which is Curtis's brother, said, Jody told me, Paul said, screw that, get in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you everything you want to know. So he said, if it wasn't for Paul jumping up and saying, I'll tell you, then he wouldn't have had a story to do. So why is the sheriff calling and saying, don't talk to this? But I mean, we do know that him and Jody kind of had it out over the rodent trailers fiasco. And
10 years ago.
but
Sorry.
why did he call and say don't talk to him? Just little things like that. Like, why are you not wanting light shed on this case?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because they didn't do their damn job.
Do you think that's what they're hiding? That they didn't do their job and they're worried about getting in trouble for not doing their job?
I think that's a lot of it. I think there was a lot of, back then, Charlie wasn't the sheriff back then. When Kurt and Jenny passed away, he was an investigator, a deputy too.
Right.
But I know he was one of the lead investigators on the case when it happened. Back then, our sheriff, I'm just going to say it because everybody in town knows.
Say whatever you want.
There was some dirty deals. He did dirty deals with dirty people. And that sheriff was really good friends with Robin House.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know if, back then there was, you can ask anybody that's lived here that knew, the Howes were like the biggest drug dealers around here.
Mm-hmm.
And they never got in trouble, never got caught.
Who was the sheriff at the time that Jenny and Kurt were killed?
It was Larry Travis.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were doing like a kickback thing. You pay me X amount of dollars and I'll stay off your ass. And then this happened with her son, and she's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. You go after my son, I'm going to tell everybody I've been paying you money. I don't know if it's that. That's just a theory in my head.
I think it's a plausible one.
Yeah, because
if you have oh, go ahead.
A lot of people around here, if you ask them, they knew that they're, do we have 100% proof that the sheriff was taking money, dive money? No, we don't. But I mean, there was too many stories about it.
Right.
So, and there they are. And they lived probably 5 minutes from Kurt and Jenny.
Oh, wow.
And maybe 5 minutes from the house. They lived in the middle, the sheriff and his wife. And
yeah.
She was an investigator.
When you have the biggest drug dealers in town never getting caught,
Right.
that's a red flag right there.
Right. There's
I
so
hear
many angles this could go, like so many ways why it's not being handled. You know, is it because they screwed up? Is it because, you know, that sheriff back then doesn't want people to know what was going on, and then he called Charlie because they were very good buddies and said,
Right.
make sure those guns don't come out of the well. You don't know. Your mind goes a million different places, but and it's hard. But the main thing that you focus on is nobody's doing shit about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to find someone that's going to care enough. We got a new sheriff coming.
That's good. Pike County needs a new sheriff.
January 4th. It's actually Tracy Evans. He worked for the prosecutor's office. He was the investigator for Rob Junk. I'm hoping that he sticks to his word.
Yeah.
And helps.
Definitely.
I hope he does. It's when we had to get like a emergency sheriffs, what I call them. they had to vote him in, and Tracy was one of the candidates down there, and I went, and he did mention when he stood up that he wanted to help the cold case victims and their families. So I'm going to hold him to that. And
good.
We'll see where that goes. I've known Tracy for years.
Mm-hmm.
His dad and my dad played music together.
Aww.
But we'll see what he does.
Yeah.
I'm going to be his best friend for a while.
Amanda, that's all you can do, right? You just got to keep at it. Amanda, Texas girl, said there's tons of shady stuff related to Reader. He is not a good guy. I just want to say, I stood up for this guy for years. Angie, you saw me. Yes. I was like, you saw me, and you didn't even get mad at me for it. You just kept showing me and showing me and showing me. And finally I was like, whoa, okay. So
yeah,
to anybody who ever saw me stand up for Charlie, I retract all of that. I said it. I said it. I'll own it. I stood up for him. I thought he was a good sheriff. I thought he was a good guy. I would say more in the last year and a half, there's just too much. There's too much. He's not a good guy, Amanda. You're right. He's not.
I knew Charlie in school before he was a cop, and he was a very nice guy. And we've had our falling outs through the years or whatever. Our families were really close, and I think a badge sometimes changes people.
The dirty badge.
Yes, the dirty badge. That's what happened. And I don't wish malice on Charlie or anything. Everybody makes mistakes, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it that he got caught up in that stuff, because him and Brian both. I mean, Brian hasn't been accused of anything, but like I said, they were really close with our family, and I hate to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I really do.
Well, hopefully he can do some soul searching, and he'll be sentenced on January 4th. He's facing some years in prison, so maybe that will give him some solitude. And yeah, like you said, time to think. Let him search in his soul and come clean and right his wrongs and realize, none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes.
Right.
I do believe when you are in a public position, when it comes to the safety and well-being of others, that you should be held to a higher standard of the mistakes that you make.
Yes.
Especially when it affects people's lives, or in this case, when it affects victims not getting justice. So,
right. It would drive me nuts. People, I would see on Facebook groups, people would say, I mean, to each their own. You can have your opinion, and I would see him say stuff like, "Well, all he did was take money from drug dealers. What's the harm in that?" And I thought, listen here.
Right.
He's stealing, period. It doesn't matter who he's taking the money from. This is somebody that kids in our community look up to. I mean, because he was doing, he was busting a lot of he was on Facebook every 20 minutes. Hey, I busted this person, that person. He was busting little guys.
I was
And-
just telling the WTAF team last night, I'm like, if you guys could have seen him on Facebook, like his personal Facebook, as well as the Pike County Sheriff's Office Facebook, it was constant, like
Yes.
bragging videos. He was the best sheriff there was. He even made videos of himself singing songs.
Yes.
He definitely portrayed himself and had himself up on a pedestal publicly.
Yes.
And it was all smoke and mirrors. A lot of it was smoke and mirrors. I shouldn't say it was all, because he did do some good. He did do his job in some ways. So
he was, everybody was like, he was the best sheriff. He didn't stay behind the desk, and he was at every bust, and he was, well, that's because he was taking their shit.
Right.
I'm not going to sit back and, you're going to bust such and such, and they got four-wheelers and shit. Well, I'm going, I'm not going to sit at my desk and crunch numbers. And did he do some good? Yeah, he did. But he didn't bust. He was always on Facebook bragging. Him and his squirrels knew what you were doing. Drug dealers, I'm coming for you. Well, you never got the big drug dealers. You got the little guys that you could bully, is what you did.
Right.
Yeah, everybody around here knows who the hell the big drug dealers are. Why doesn't Charlie Reeder know who the big drug dealers are?
Right, exactly. In my opinion, with Sherry says, I've been hearing a new baby in the background. Did I miss something? I did not have a baby, Sherry, but Angie has a brand new grandbaby. Yeah. He is the cutest little guy.
He is. Little Jude.
He's so cute.
He's been good so far. I was waiting on him to wail one out, but he hasn't yet.
It's okay if he wails. Everyone loves the sound of a baby. It's okay. So, well, congratulations on Jude. I've seen many pictures. He's adorable.
Yes, he is.
Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap this up, because unless there's anything else that you want to share, Angie, I am going to. Okay. I'm going to drop a bunch of things in our WTAF group, things that I've held on to. I'll drop the dirty badge in there. Was actually a paper that was published to the Pike County citizens. So, yeah, you guys can read that. I'll drop everything I have. Please, please, please join Angie's Facebook group for Kurt and Jenny. Follow her. I'll put those links in our Facebook group as well, for her Kurt and Jenny Facebook group, her Kurt and Jenny page. Follow her on Twitter. Look for an article coming out on our website, because we are going to write an article on this. People are saying congratulations on their new grandbaby, and what a perfect name.
Yes.
So
thank you.
I want to thank you so much for your time. I know it's so hard to come on here and be raw and open and say the things that you said. Thank you for giving me your time and trusting me with this.
Yes. If I was going to lay it out with anybody, it would be you, because I trust you 110%. And your team. You guys are freaking awesome. Yes. And all the people in the chat, thank you so much for coming and listening. And if you can, just spread the word and be Kurt and Jenny's voice.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it any better than myself. So thank you, Angie. And to everybody in the chat, all of our F-bombers, thank you for being here. The amazing WTAF, I can't even talk, guys, WTAF team down there, our bomb squad. Thank you for being here. Amanda, who else is down there? Car Guy, Madame Deficit, Doodle. Did I miss any of you? Because I know some of you couldn't be here, but if you're not here, you're still here in heart. I love you guys, and I appreciate everything that you do. And I appreciate everyone that comes into our chat and listens to our lives. And always remember that I might be the voice up here, but it's not just me. There's a whole team of us that we do so much research and work, and it takes all of us. So Thank you all. And again, Angie, thank you. We were going to fight with you to get some justice, at
Yes.
least get their names out there.
Yes.
So,
Every little bit helps. So,
yes, it does. On that note, guys, I think we're going to say good night. Everybody enjoy their Saturday night, and we'll be back soon.
thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye, Angie.
Bye. Thank you.